I do have really smart boys. It's like Gage can do third grade math. And one.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Reality Weighs In. I'm Jennifer. And today we're diving into one of the most shocking and emotional untold stories from 1000 Delby sisters. What you're about to hear goes far beyond the funny moments, family fights, and emotional wins that TLC loves to show. This is about the painful, frightening, and deeply human reality that the network didn't want you to see. From the very beginning, fans connected with Chris Combs. He wasn't just Tammy and Amy's brother, he was their anchor. The one person who brought reason and heart to the Slaton family's chaos. Chris's humor, determination, and honesty made him instantly beloved. He wanted to get healthy, not for fame, but for his family. And when he decided to undergo weight loss surgery, it felt like a turning point, a story of hope and transformation that fans could truly believe in. But what viewers didn't see was the painful truth hidden behind the cameras. Beneath the surface of TLC's edited success story, a terrifying medical crisis unfolded, one that nearly cost Chris his life. According to multiple insiders, his hospitalization wasn't just a minor scare. It was a life-threatening emergency that the network worked hard to keep out of public view. Not long after surgery, Chris began suffering from severe complications. His recovery didn't go as planned. Behind closed doors, he was fighting pain, exhaustion, and terrifying symptoms that pointed to something seriously wrong. But rather than showing that reality, TLC made a choice to focus on lighter moments, leaving out the scenes that would have shown just how close Chris came to disaster. To understand how this happened, we have to go back to the beginning. When Chris joined 1000 Delby Sisters, he wasn't trying to be a TV star. He was the down-to-earth brother who supported his sisters while quietly battling his own health struggles. Fans saw him as strong, funny, and endlessly patient, the glue that held the family together. So when he decided to go through with bariatric surgery, viewers cheered. It felt like a well-deserved victory. But what TLC didn't emphasize is that weight loss surgery is not a miracle cure. It's a serious, risky medical procedure, especially for someone who's carried excess weight for decades. Behind the inspiring speeches and smiles, there are painful recoveries, complications, and risks that don't make good TV. Chris's surgery, according to those close to him, was far more dangerous than what fans saw. His heart and other organs had already been weakened by years of strain. And though TLC promoted the surgery as a symbol of triumph, behind the scenes, doctors were deeply concerned about his recovery. It didn't take long for those fears to become reality. Chris began experiencing intense abdominal pain, nausea, and severe fatigue, all warning signs of post-surgical complications. His condition worsened quickly. Eventually, things became so serious that he was reportedly rushed to the hospital in an emergency situation. While fans at home were celebrating his progress, Chris was lying in a hospital bed, hooked up to IVs and fighting for his life. The Slaton family was terrified. Tammy and Amy, who've both faced their own health crises, were devastated to see their brother in such danger. But TLC didn't show that. They didn't want to change the tone of their show from inspiring to tragic. Instead, producers quietly edited around the entire ordeal. They shifted the story away from Chris and back to family drama. Amy's personal struggles, Tammy's temper, or the lighter comedic moments that keep viewers entertained. Chris's absence on screen was brushed off as recovery, when in reality, it was something much worse. According to insiders, Chris's hospitalization wasn't a one-time event. He was reportedly readmitted multiple times for complications, infections, nutritional issues, and internal pain that required close medical supervision. Each time, TLC downplayed it. They showed us smiling, determined Chris returning to the screen as if nothing serious had happened. But that version of the story was only half true. The reality is, Chris's hospitalization revealed a dangerous pattern, one that goes far beyond his personal struggle. It exposed how TLC crafts a narrative. It's cutting out the parts that don't fit the inspirational transformation formula. When things get too dark or too real, they simply edit it out. And that's the real betrayal. 1000 Delby Sisters was sold to audiences as a real and unfiltered look at the Slaton family's journey. But when faced with actual danger, TLC chose to hide it. They sanitized Chris's pain and presented a feel-good version of events that never truly happened. It's impossible not to wonder if they could hide something this serious. What else have they hidden? What other breakdowns, emergencies, or family crises have been left on the cutting room floor because they didn't fit the storyline? For Chris, the aftermath of his hospitalization was devastating physically and emotionally. Those close to him say he was changed after that ordeal. He became quieter, more reserved, and less trusting of production. After all, he had let the cameras into his life only to watch his most vulnerable moment get erased from the show. And while TLC presented him as a symbol of resilience, the truth is that he was still recovering, struggling with pain, weakness, and emotional exhaustion. The cheerful moments fans saw on camera were real, but incomplete. Behind every smile was a man who had faced death and survived a story that deserved to be told honestly. Instead, TLC kept up the illusion. They continued selling a fantasy, one where everyone overcomes their struggles neatly, one episode at a time. But Chris's ordeal shattered that illusion. It showed that the so-called reality in reality TV is often just another performance. And it's not just about Chris. This situation shines a light on how these shows operate, how producers can manipulate narratives and decide which parts of a person's life the world gets to see. Fans think they're witnessing authentic transformation. But what they're really watching is a carefully constructed edit designed to maintain a specific image. For the Slaton family, the emotional toll was enormous. Amy, already juggling motherhood and fame, was barely holding it together. Tammy, despite her own health battles, was reportedly terrified of losing her brother. Yet none of those raw, powerful emotions made it to air. TLC didn't think heartbreak fit their formula. Instead, the show returned to its familiar rhythm, upbeat background music, family arguments, and jokes that distracted from the truth. Chris eventually returned, smiling and thinner, and fans cheered his progress. But few knew that his real fight, the one for his life, had happened far away from the cameras. By erasing that chapter, TLC robbed both Chris and the audience of something real. His survival could have been a story of strength and warning, a chance to show viewers the full reality of what weight loss surgery entails. It could have started an honest conversation about health, risk, and recovery. But instead, they chose the safe route. Why? Because pain doesn't sell like positivity. Because vulnerability makes networks uncomfortable. Because admitting how close they came to tragedy would shatter the illusion of control they worked so hard to maintain. But for Chris, that illusion is long gone. Sources say that after his hospitalization, he began taking a step back from production. He reportedly questioned how much of his life he wanted to keep sharing, and who he could trust with his story. And honestly, who could blame him? When you nearly lose your life and the network you trusted hides it, how can you go back to pretending everything is fine? The truth is, Chris's hospitalization changed everything. It exposed not only the danger of extreme weight loss, but also the dark underbelly of reality television, where people's pain becomes a product, and the truth becomes optional. Fans still love Chris for his humor, heart, and resilience. But now, knowing what really happened, his strength carries an even deeper meaning. He isn't just a man who lost weight. He's someone who faced death, endured silence, and kept moving forward despite it all. As viewers, we deserve to see the full picture, the victories and the battles, the smiles and the scars. Because without that honesty, the word reality loses its meaning entirely. At the end of the day, Chris's story isn't just about surgery or TV fame. It's about truth. The truth that healing is never simple. The truth that recovery can be brutal. And the truth that behind every edited moment on television, there are real people whose lives don't stop when the cameras do. So as fans continue to celebrate Chris's journey, Kame, it's time to look deeper, to see beyond the edits and into the raw, unseen moments that make these stories human. Because if one thing is clear after everything he's endured, it's this. The real story, the one TLC tried to hide, deserves to be told.
And not worried about relationships right now.
It's the story TLC refused to air. The one that exposes how carefully Nulalo B Sisters is manufactured. On screen, we see smiles, laughter, and triumphant transformations. But off camera, the truth is far more chilling. A truth the network works hard to bury. For years, TLC has sold the same story to millions of viewers. The Slaton family's struggles are edited into a clean, inspiring arc. Someone gets surgery, loses weight, and suddenly their life is better. But what they don't show is how risky, painful, and even life-threatening those surgeries can be. And Chris Combs' hospitalization is the perfect example, a moment that shattered TLC's illusion and revealed just how dangerous the journey to health really is. Let's break it down. Bariatric surgery, whether it's a gastric bypass or a sleeve gastrectomy, isn't as simple as TLC makes it look. It's not a quick fix or a feel-good miracle. It's an invasive, complex operation that fundamentally alters the digestive system. The stomach is either reduced in size or rerouted, forcing the body to adapt to a drastically reduced food intake. This kind of surgery puts enormous stress on the body. Patients must relearn how to eat, digest, and function on fewer calories. And while TLC presents it as a miracle cure in the real world, doctors know the truth. It's one of the riskiest medical procedures out there. The potential complications are terrifying infections, hernias, gallstones, malnutrition, blood clots, surgical leaks, and even heart failure. In some cases, a single leak from the surgical site can lead to sepsis and death within days if untreated. But almost never does TLC mention that. Instead, we get upbeat music, hopeful narration, and celebratory wins. The reality, the pain, the danger, the fear is left on the cutting room floor. And that's exactly what happened with Chris Combs after his surgery. Reports say Chris began experiencing serious symptoms, fatigue, nausea, and severe abdominal pain. At first, it might have looked like normal recovery discomfort, but those close to him say it quickly escalated. These weren't mild side effects. They were red flags of something much more serious, potential internal bleeding, ulcers, or a surgical leak. In medical terms, that's an emergency, one that can be fatal if ignored. But TLC ignored it. While Chris was reportedly hospitalized, struggling through one of the scariest experiences of his life, TLC stayed silent. There were no updates, no acknowledgement, not even a hint on the show that something had gone wrong. Instead, they kept airing episodes that made it look like everything was fine, that Chris was doing great, that his surgery was a perfect success. To the audience, Chris was the strong one, the brother who could succeed where Tammy failed and Amy struggled. TLC portrayed him as the success story that proved the surgery worked. But behind that edited narrative was a man in pain, fighting to recover while the cameras pretended nothing happened. Why would TLC hide it? Because honesty doesn't sell. TLC thrives on transformation narratives, the emotional before and after moments, the tearful confessions, the triumphant wins. It's the formula that keeps viewers coming back. But if they showed the dark side, the hospital visits, the complications, the genuine risks, that entire illusion would collapse. Instead of uplifting, the show would start to look exploitative. And that's something TLC can't afford. So they made a choice. Protect the ratings, not the truth. By concealing Chris's hospitalization, TLC sent a chilling message. The show's image matters more than the safety or honesty of its cast. And in doing so, they gave viewers a dangerously false impression. Because when you only show the happy endings, you make it look like surgery is an easy fix. You make people believe that once you go under the knife, your problems disappear. But anyone who's been through it knows it's not that simple. It's a lifelong battle filled with physical pain, emotional strain, and constant risk. By hiding the truth, TLC isn't inspiring hope. They're spreading a dangerous fantasy. And for the Slaton family, that fantasy comes with pressure, crushing, relentless pressure. Off camera, what TLC calls motivation often feels more like manipulation. Producers reportedly push the cast to hit milestones faster, to lose more weight, to deliver bigger emotional payoffs. Prove the doctors wrong, push harder, don't let the audience down. It's all designed to make better television, not to protect their health. But this kind of pressure is deadly. Rapid weight loss strains the body beyond its limits. It weakens the heart, causes malnutrition, and increases the likelihood of post-surgical complications. In short, the faster the transformation, the higher the risk. Chris became a victim of that hidden system. He wasn't allowed to just be himself, a man trying to get healthy on his own terms. TLC turned him into a symbol, the dependable brother. It's the proof that surgery works, the success story that makes the show look good. But when his health failed, when his body couldn't keep up with the storyline, TLC didn't show compassion. They showed silence. His hospitalization wasn't just a medical emergency, it was a threat to TLC's entire narrative. And when something threatens the illusion, it gets erased. So while fans watched clips of Chris laughing, cooking, and supporting his sisters, the truth was happening out of frame. The tubes, the exhaustion, the fear in his eyes, none of it aired, and that silence is revealing. When other networks face public health crises with their stars, they often acknowledge it, issuing statements, dedicating special episodes, or showing the journey of recovery. But with Chris, nothing. No press release, no official word, not even a passing mention. Just silence. And in this case, silence speaks volumes. It suggests the hospitalization was real and that TLC deliberately chose to hide it. The less viewers know, the easier it is to keep them hooked on the success story. But every illusion eventually breaks. Chris's emergency pulled back the curtain on what's really happening behind the scenes. 1000 lb Sisters isn't just about family and health, it's a high-stakes gamble with people's lives. Every surgery, every complication, every quiet hospital stay reminds us that this isn't entertainment. It's real. And that's what makes TLC's silence so disturbing. They continue to sell hope while concealing heartbreak. They show victories, but hide the pain. They brand themselves as authentic. But their version of authenticity is manufactured, carefully edited, scripted, and sanitized. Chris's story exposes that hypocrisy in full view. He wasn't a plot twist or a production error. He was a human being who suffered, who trusted a network to tell his story truthfully, and who instead became another piece of their illusion. TLC wanted Chris to represent success, but his hospitalization revealed the truth that the road to recovery isn't glamorous. And the cost of chasing ratings can be deadly. Behind the lights, the contracts, and the smiles, there's a darker story unfolding, one about exploitation, pressure, and silence. And the saddest part? Chris isn't alone. He's just one of many reality stars caught in the machine. People whose real pain gets buried beneath a network's pursuit of perfection. For viewers, it's time to ask harder questions. How much of what we see is real? How many of these transformations come with hidden consequences? And how far will networks go to protect their image instead of their people? Chris Combs' story forces us to look beyond the edits to see the truth TLC doesn't want us to know. Because this isn't just a show about losing weight. It's a story about what's lost when truth no longer matters. Chris's hospitalization shattered the illusion. And even though TLC never aired it, his silence speaks louder than any scripted scene. His story reminds us that behind every feel-good moment on television, there's a person fighting battles we may never see. And that's the reality TLC didn't want you to know. Reality TLC.
Tammy and Amy, right?
Yes, sir.
Hey, I'm Dr. Proctor.
Nice to meet you. You got it right on the first.
If TLC is willing to hide what happened to Chris Combs, what else are they hiding about Tammy, Amy, and the rest of the Slaton family? That question is haunting fans, and the answer is far more terrifying than anything we've seen on screen. Chris's hospitalization isn't just another plot twist. It's the clearest proof that TLC's hunger for drama and quick, picture-perfect transformations doesn't just bruise feelings, it puts lives on the line. For years, 1002 lb Sisters has been sold as a feel-good reality series, a mix of family chaos and inspirational health journeys. We tune in for the laughter, the fights, the tears, and those long-awaited wins. But beneath every emotional montage lies a hidden cost that almost no one talks about. When Chris first joined the show, he was presented as the proof that surgery works. It's a solid brother who could do what others could not. Viewers saw him as strong, determined, even heroic. But what they didn't see was the invisible burden that came with that role. Once the camera started rolling, Chris stopped being just a man on his own journey. He became a storyline, a symbol, and the weight of that expectation was heavier than anything he'd ever carried. From day one, TLC cast the Slaton siblings into fixed roles. Tammy was the struggler, Amy the hopeful young mom trying to balance health and motherhood. Kay and Chris became the success story. His job was to show that willpower and surgery could conquer anything. Fans cheered him on, convinced they were watching a man rebuild his life. But behind that polished narrative, insiders say the truth was far more complicated. Off camera, Chris was under immense pressure. Producers wanted faster results, bigger reactions, stronger emotion. Each win wasn't just a medical checkpoint, it was a ratings event. Each setback became a talking point. Each victory was packaged into a feel-good moment for promo clips. What began as a personal health battle turned into public entertainment. And in the world of reality television, slow, steady progress doesn't sell. Viewers crave transformation arcs that happen in months, not years. They want shocking reveals, emotional breakdowns, and the kind of redemption that fits neatly into a single season. But the human body doesn't move at the speed of a television edit. When pushed too far, it collapses on. That's exactly what happened to Chris Combs. Medical experts know the dangers of rapid weight loss after bariatric surgery. The body is already under stress. Add production schedules, emotional strain, and constant filming, and the risk multiplies. Chris's hospitalization wasn't only about surgical complications. It was about the crushing stress of performing his life for millions of strangers. Imagine waking up every day knowing that your progress, your pain, and your setbacks are content. That producers are asking for updates while you're still recovering. That you're expected to be vulnerable on cue because vulnerability sells. The same journey that was supposed to heal Chris became the very thing that nearly destroyed him. Stress does more than hurt feelings, it breaks the body. It weakens the immune system, slows recovery, and increases the risk of complications. Behind every win, there was exhaustion. Behind every smile, there was fear that he might fail, not just himself, but an audience that wanted him to stay inspiring. And then came the moment TLC didn't want fans to see. Chris was hospitalized, a frightening, life-threatening emergency that stripped away all the show's glossy optimism. There were no cameras capturing his fear. No tearful confessionals from family members praying for his recovery. No updates to fans who had invested their hearts in his story. Instead, there was silence. TLC erased the incident from the narrative as if it never happened. The reason is simple. Showing Chris's suffering would have shattered the illusion of steady progress. It would have reminded viewers that weight loss surgery isn't magic, that sometimes it goes horribly wrong. Reality TV thrives on success stories, not on hospital monitors and pain medication. By hiding what happened, TLC sent a message that's impossible to ignore. Cast members are valuable only as long as they deliver good television. When real life becomes too real, the cameras look away. The Slaton family may have signed contracts, but they didn't sign up for emotional and physical exploitation. Each sibling has faced their own version of public pressure. Tammy's lowest moments have been mocked online. Amy's family struggles have been dissected for clicks. And now we know Chris's most frightening chapter was completely erased. If TLC could bury his hospitalization, what else have they hidden? How many unseen breakdowns, emergency calls, or off-camera tears have been quietly edited out to preserve the myth of transformation? Chris's crisis forces us to see fame for what it really is. Not healing, but magnified pain. What was meant to be a journey toward health became a battle for survival physically and mentally. Every cheer from fans came with the knowledge that he was performing his recovery. That the pressure never stopped, even when the cameras did. And when the worst happened, the network that promised authenticity chose silence over truth. They didn't issue a statement. They didn't show his struggle. They didn't even allow Chris to speak openly about what happened. They simply cut it out and moved on. But reality can't be erased by edits. Once the cracks in the illusion appear, you can't unsee them. Chris's hidden hospitalization stands as a warning sign, a reminder that reality TV fame always comes with a cost.
Okay.
And that cost is often far higher than anyone imagines. Behind every dramatic episode are real people with real pain. Behind every inspirational montage is someone fighting exhaustion, fear, and medical danger. And for Chris, those dangers nearly turned deadly. Perhaps the most disturbing part of all is how icily TLC controlled the narrative. They built a world where fans celebrate transformation, while the truth messy, painful human gets buried. They decided which parts of Chris's life were worth showing and which ones were too inconvenient for the story they wanted to sell. But viewers are starting to see through the illusion. They're beginning to ask questions. If TLC hid Chris's hospitalization, what about Tammy's medical scares? Amy's emotional breakdowns? Or the countless off-camera moments that never made the final cut? How much of the show is genuine, and how much is a manufactured version of reality designed to keep us watching? The answer is uncomfortable. 1000 Del-B Sisters isn't just about family, health, and hope. It's a carefully constructed performance, a narrative that thrives on human struggle but sanitizes it for prime time. The producers decide when to show tears and when to cut to commercial. They decide when to highlight progress and when to gloss over pain. For Chris Combs, that manipulation became deadly serious. His medical emergency didn't fit the storyline, so it vanished. His fear didn't match the uplifting tone, so it was muted. His humanity was inconvenient, so it was edited away. And yet, the truth still found its way out. Chris's experience reveals the darker side of the industry, a side where reality means control, and where entertainment outweighs empathy. It's not just about ratings, it's about ownership. Networks own the footage, the narrative, and, in many ways, the people inside it. The fans who once cheered for Chris's success now have to face an unsettling truth. The very show that promised to celebrate his journey may have endangered his life. The same network that preaches authenticity may have built its empire on omission. If it can happen to Chris, the grounded, beloved brother, what does that mean for Tammy, who has faced life-threatening health issues of her own? What about Amy, juggling motherhood and recovery under relentless scrutiny? How many more close calls will it take before TLC admits that the real story of 1000 Del-B Sisters isn't about losing weight, it's about losing control? Chris's hospitalization should have been a turning point. A chance for the show to tell the truth about the dangers of rapid weight loss and the toll of constant public exposure. Instead, it became the story TLC was too afraid to tell. And that silence says everything. Reality television sells the illusion of hope, but hope without honesty is manipulation. Viewers deserve to know that behind every edited smile lies a real human cost. The Slaton family deserves to have their whole story told, not just the parts that fit a network's idea of success. Chris Combs' hidden chapter is more than a scandal. It's a warning. It reminds us that fame doesn't fix pain, it amplifies it. It proves that behind every triumphant win and motivational speech, there are people fighting unseen battles just to survive. And it leaves us with one final, haunting question. How many more near misses will it take before TLC admits that the dark truth of 1000 Del-B Sisters is not about healing a family, it's about exploiting one? Because while the cameras can hide what they don't want us to see, the truth always finds its way out. And once it does,